A day after the debate, President Biden confronting questions about his age as his performance sparks controversy. Former President Trump, meanwhile, holds a rally in Virginia and declares victory in last night's debate. NTD's Iris Tao reports from Biden's rally in Raleigh, North Carolina.
President Biden vowing to get back up while acknowledging concerns about his age after his debate with former President Trump last night drew criticism about his performance.
I know I'm not a young man. State the obvious. I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. When you get knocked down, you get back up.
At his post-debate rally here in Raleigh, North Carolina, Biden repeats similar lines of attacks against Trump on issues including abortion, the economy, and January 6th. Biden's campaign says Biden will not drop out of the race. And the supporters here who are invited by the campaign say they still back Biden despite some disappointments about last night.
Biden's performance may not have been his best. Content was obvious. Biden is an honest, moral, thoughtful person.
Some of the moments early on in the debate are widespread across social media, especially with my generation. It was kind of like not troubling, but more like concerning to watch and see like who will be our leader potentially in the next 4 years of our lives.
Biden could have been a little bit stronger, but I still agree with everything, all of his positions. But I hope people will see beyond that.
Former President Trump, meanwhile, also held a rally on Friday in Virginia, saying this about the debate.
Thank you. Hello, Virginia. Did anybody last night watch a thing called The Debate? That was a big one.
Trump added,
"This election is a choice between strength and weakness, competence and incompetence, peace and prosperity, or war or no war."
While the first presidential debate is consequential to voters' perception, we're still 5 months away from November, and a lot of things could still shake up this race. The Supreme Court next Monday could release its final ruling on Trump's claim of presidential immunity from federal prosecution, and that's another likely topic to shape conversations about the election. Reporting from Raleigh, North Carolina, Iris Tao, NTD News.
Here to discuss some of the key takeaways from last night's presidential debate is Aaron Call, the director of debate at the University of Michigan. Aaron Call, thank you very much for joining us today.
It's great to be back with you.
How do you think last night's debate went?
Yeah, it's hard to imagine a scenario where it could have gone more poorly for President Biden, especially those first 15, 20 minutes was pretty brutal. Tough to watch, out of genuine concern. Is he doing okay? The age issues have plagued him for a while. You can't change your age. He had kind of put some of it past with a very solid State of the Union address in March, but it was a different, unrecognizable person that people saw, especially in the early part of the debate last night, despite the week of preparation at Camp David. Came out in a really tough spot. Incumbents, generally don't do very well in these debates, but his opponent also skipped the primary debates, and so they hadn't debated each other for the same 4 years, so there's really no excuse there. But anytime you kind of stumble, shuffling in and out, it's kind of the looks and the side by side, having his mouth agape, and just a lot of stumbles and miscues. You're going to turn attention to that age. If someone could be at 85 in a second term, is that adequate to lead the country in such challenging and trying times? And that's the last focus you wanted, because the next debate is not for 3 months, and so that's the perception that's going to exist, and he doesn't have another opportunity, unfortunately, to change it until September.
You mentioned the structure of the debate and having that split screen there, having the reaction from the other candidate while one was speaking. What did you think of that structure with no studio audience and the muted mics?
Yeah, it was a throwback to the old days with Kennedy Nixon, 1960. No audience, and much more, at least the intention of a civil and an issue-focused debate, and it returned to the roots of political debates. That was the first one ever, and I thought it was great. The Cleveland debate in 2020 was mired by interruptions of both the moderator and the opponent, and we got less of that, or even if it did occur in the studio, the audience didn't have to hear it. So all those things were great, and the Biden team pushed for most of them, And ironically, some of those may have ended up helping Trump. The earlier debate in June, I think by the cutting the microphones, it forced Trump to be more disciplined. And it was a big negative of him debating the interruptions, and this fiated it away. So all those kind of things, the confluence of events, really caused a positive political night for Trump.
Aaron, both candidates accused the other of lying. How do you think that came across to voters?
Yeah, I mean, politicians in general sometimes have trouble playing totally 100% with things. They like to frame them in the best possible ways. And even Biden had some misstatements about casualties in war and things like that. But if you look up the total, misstatements or factually incorrect things, Trump probably had more. But that's his style. And, in a debate sense, sometimes that's helpful. He goes at, a million miles an hour at a very fast clip. And just when you try to call him or fact check him on one particular thing, he's already moved on to something else, and a lot of things kind of went by the wayside, but by design. And I think that's the way it should be. The candidates should have the research and skills to call out incorrect things in real time, and if not, people are going to have to get that information from professional fact-checking organizations, either with CNN or other web pages and things, if it's very important to them. But not their role to be a referee in the middle of a really important debate.
I want to zero in on the issues now. According to several polls, the economy is on top of voters' minds. How do you think the debate went on that?
Yeah, and that's generally the sense. So the economy, inflation, housing, spending, a lot of economy-related issues. That's usually number one by far what people vote on. There was a pretty good debate, I thought, on just kind of the role of COVID in those things. I mean, Trump's case was that things were going really well, and we had this, once-in-a-million-year pandemic that really made things challenging, and you had to shut down the economy by design, and then there's going to be inflation after that, and so it's just kind of an external fluke event happened that penalized him. But if not for that, he had a very successful presidency and economy, and Biden's take was obviously a little different, that didn't think that Trump handled the pandemic well, and then he had to make some decisions which, caused the inflation. And so he was pretty good on kind of, not trying to just cite statistics and say, everyone just can't see what's happening, but was, even though things are getting better, and tried to have a forward optimistic look towards what a second Biden term would look like. He also realized that, hey, it's not quick enough. I realize people are still suffering, and he tried to express empathy for those, especially in some different subpopulations like African Americans, Latinos, and others. And so, overall, it was a pretty good, I thought, discussion on that, especially given all the other constraints. But unfortunately, everything, especially aftermath of the debates, all going to focus on the nonverbal stuff, the age and stamina stuff, as opposed to some really important issues that don't have easy solutions with a really divided country. And both candidates have such radically different ways in which to tackle those things. That's why the stakes in this election are so high.
Aaron Call, thank you very much for your time here today.
Oh, anytime. It's great to be with you.
Reactions are pouring in from last night's debate, and in a change from the norm, there's more talk about President Biden than former President Trump. Some Democrats acknowledge Biden's performance could have been better, but still stand solidly behind him as the party nominee. Meanwhile, House Speaker Mike Johnson is seeking to set the record straight on the 13 American troops who died during the Afghanistan withdrawal. Here's what lawmakers on Capitol Hill have to say after the first presidential debate.
Did Joe Biden have a bad night, in my opinion? Yes, he absolutely did. And he needs to get out and talk to the American people.
It was not a good night for the president, but it's not the end of the campaign. We go forward, we work hard, we deal with the issues.
Look, I get that President Biden had a sore throat, apparently was not feeling well, but at the end of the day, we've seen the president in action for years.
You all would have liked to have been better performance by the president, but regardless of what happens, I've got to fight for my district.
One of the things that was the most staggering that we heard him say is that he claimed that on his watch, we have not lost any American troops. The lives of no American troops have been lost as long as he's been president. Obviously, that is not true.
Everyone has known for a very long time his condition, and they've tried to hide it. And that's lying to the American people.
I think the Democrat Party chose Joe Biden on purpose.
I think there could be an overreaction. I think we should give it a moment.
I was just incredibly exasperated that this is where we are.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.